Ladies and gentlemen, so courtesy of Data Miner Otrix, we've just received the early data mine abilities for Symbiote Supreme and also Venom the Duck, who are heavily speculated and now really almost 100% confirmed to be next month's playable champions. We've seen promotional artwork. We had this wonderful image yesterday of Symbiote Supreme as well. So yeah, very, very exciting. Now, both of these characters kind of look like a little bit of a spin on existing characters. Symbiote Supreme is a kind of symbiote version corrupted Doctor Strange, and it's kind of taken the fundamental core mechanics of Doctor Strange and changed it up a little bit and added on a lot more stuff. Symbiote Supreme looks like a very, very interesting character. Looks like he's going to be pretty much the ultimate kind of buff counter. A lot of stagger this character has, but also just so many ways to prevent buffs and also strip them, and also a few other interesting things he can do. So yeah, I think Symbiote Supreme also has some synergies with characters such as Mephisto, Dormammu, Doctor Strange, and also some more bleed damage for Carnage and Venom that might make some of those characters a little bit more interesting to play as well. But anyway, I thought we'd start off with the ability overviews by breaking down everything Symbiote Supreme does. And again, there's quite a bit of information here to go through, but we're going to try our best to kind of, make it as easy as possible to understand. So again, think Doctor Strange when you're thinking about kind of the basics of this character, but again, a very slightly different version. So much like Doctor Strange has kind of three stances that he is in, so does Symbiote Supreme as well. So he has three different genetic blessings, and these will rotate every certain amount of seconds. But the way that this character is set up, I think they're going to be a lot bit longer than Doctor Strange's stances, but I'm not 100% sure of that. So his first one is kind of the Set Fang's genetic blessing, and this is kind of his Fury, his damage stance, so it's going to grant him a Fury buff when activating, but also causes bleed on hits and will place stagger on the opponent when hitting with special attacks. The next one he has is kind of the defensive one. It will give him additional armor, additional perfect block chance, but also whenever you are struck or blocking, it's going to apply stagger to the opponent as well. And the final one, when you enter it, is kind of like a bit more of a Nullify phase. So you've kind of got Fury, Armor, and Nullify. So as soon as you enter this one, it will strip all of the buffs off the opponent, will deal direct damage in this phase when nullifying buffs, and also all of your basic hits are going to play stagger as well. So yeah, that seems really, really good, especially for kind of Medusa, Hyperion, Cable, maybe matchups like Juggernaut now that he's been buffed. Might potentially make him an option for fights like Realm of Legends Wolverine, Labyrinth of Legends X23, and also it looks like Venom the Duck is leaning toward being a kind of heavily buff dependent, maybe Cosmic Defender that's also quite good on attack. So yeah, maybe he's going to be very good for that matchup as well. But again, it kind of seems like he is the ultimate stagger champion, and his awakened ability as well is kind of like, you know, Doctor Strange's one strips buffs, but this one applies stagger effects as well. But it also has the second line saying, the unique combination of symbiote and mystic arts that power Symbiote Supreme have a disrupting effect on many abilities of the lesser beings inhabiting the battle realm. So I'm not too sure if that kind of line of text is just given a vague hint at the signature ability if it's like unlocked, or whether or not it's trying to hint at the fact that maybe you can strip buffs like, for example, Infinity War Iron Man's armor up, which I don't believe champions can do at the moment, or maybe you can stagger that as well. So yeah, maybe this character might be very good for Infinity War Iron Man. Who knows, ladies and gentlemen? But I know his armor up buff does seem to want to work a little bit differently. Now, the next thing that Symbiote Supreme has is every time a buff or stagger effect on the opponent ends, he's going to gain a certain amount of genetic potential, up to a maximum of 100. Now, this seems to have two different effects, so each time you kind of alternate from one stance to another, you're going to consume a certain amount of that genetic potential, and it's going to give you a bonus amount of power. And also, very much like Doctor Strange as well, all the power gain on Symbiote Supreme is going to be reduced by 100%, but he's going to gain a certain amount of his max power every amount of seconds, so again, it's going to passively go up. I imagine this is probably going to be fairly similar to what is it, Doctor Strange as well, and he's going to gain like 1 bar of power every 9 seconds, but essentially, yeah, so it seems like even in matchups where you are not nullifying, and you're just applying stagger and it ends, you can still gain genetic potential, and again, that's going to have the benefit of giving you more power, but also, based on the amount of genetic potential that you have, it's going to further empower the stances you're in, kind of increasing the effects of them, so it looks like you're going to gain kind of like more fury, more direct damage from the Nullify, and more like armor and perfect block chance in kind of certain stages there. So yeah, a bit of an additional layer of complexity when it comes to the character there. A lot of this text here is essentially just kind of explaining in code detail what these various stances do, and there's, you know, nothing that we haven't really already covered, aside from this one, which is during the armor up phase, so what is it? The Null Shadow phase. He has a chance when this blessing is triggered to gain a protection buff, preventing Symbiote Supreme from taking more than a percentage damage of his max health per hit, lasting for a certain amount of seconds, and this protection threshold is reduced by 50% if the opponent has an active buff, which again is probably never going to be the case when you're playing this champion because he's thrown out so much stagger. But yeah, a bit of an interesting one. You know, you've kind of got that Iceman, like Emma Frost style cap there for a certain amount of time, and that is a very nice ability for the character to have. And yeah, really aside from that, again, that's kind of just doubling up on the Fury phase, saying that, you know, you're going to get the bleed and the Fury, and I'm very interested to see if there is going to be like a balls to the walls damage way you can play this character, you know, kind of just going in as possibly hard as you can to get the genetic potential almost at full, and just trying to maximize the amount of time you can stay in this Fury and bleed phase, and whether or not that's going to be very effective. But yeah, seems quite interesting so far. So there's like a few lot of things this character can do, but I think as well, if it wasn't mentioned toward the start, it looks very, very likely that this character is going to be Mystic from the way that he's kind of formatted. So yeah, having the added bonus of Mystic Dispersion, I imagine is going to make this character quite insane. Now, in terms of his special attacks, they are seeming really interesting. So again, I feel like he's kind of got some pimped out versions of maybe Doctor Strange's specials. So the special one, a portal opens to an unknowable dimension, allowing tendrils from beyond to strike, which will switch you to the next blessing. So that's a way if, you know, you're trying to play with a Fury kind of goal in mind, to maybe get back to the Fury one so you can get the increased attack, the increased bleed, and also has a chance to nullify 1 buff and will generate genetic potential if a buff is nullified. So yeah, any of the squiggly bracket figures, we don't know, you know, they're kind of values that aren't fully determined yet. So yeah, we don't know any of the values in the squiggly brackets, just as a heads up until they actually land in the game. But essentially, you've got a way to switch blessings and also, yeah, nullify buffs off the special ones. So it does not seem too bad there at all. And then we have the Special 2, which Symbiote Supreme's composition of dark power-ups forth from the very ground beneath the enemy's feet. So this sounds very familiar in terms of Doctor Strange's, but I'm interested to see the animations on it. So while, and it has like a various effect depending on what exactly is active. So while the Cunning is active, and that's the one which is the, what is it, the Nullify phase, essentially. So you're applying Nullify on all of your basics there. You have a chance to steal opponent's max power, so essentially you can get even more special 2s in that phase. While Null Shadow is active, so that's the defensive one, you have a chance to place a weakness debuff on the opponent, and if this is really effective, maybe this is going to be a good way to help mitigate some matchups like Magic, for example. And the final one is while Set Fang, so that's the Fury phase, is active. Each hit has a chance to place an armor break debuff on the opponent. So yeah, having an armor break as well, you know, that's very useful for quite a few matchups at the moment. Emma Frost, Killmonger. So as you can see, as you know, we go down this character's abilities, the utility is starting to add up a little bit, and it seems like this man is going to have some very interesting stuff that he might be able to do. So this is an interesting one to bear in mind. All of these effects as well, combined potentially with the fact that this is a Mystic character, and also also what we're about to read on the special 3. So Dimensional Hunger is the special 3. So when the hive mind hungers, Symbiote Supreme offers up his opponent to sate its desires, if only briefly. So there is a chance on this to reset genetic blessing timer and also activate all 3 of the genetic blessings. So I think if you do that, man, you're just going to go into crazy beast mode. Like, you're going to have so many staggers firing off. You're going to have the bleed, the fury, the almost perfect block, maybe like the damage cap as well, maybe all the effects of the special 2. Again, if you can siphon the power, and also you gain a certain amount of genetic potential, which is again going to fuel those effects even further. So it seems like there's going to be some very interesting combos that you can do with this character in certain matchups, but I think Symbiote Supreme is going to be a character that maybe in a way is a little bit like Bishop, where he's going to have a few matchups that you can completely dominate, you know, your Medusas, your Hyperions, your very buff heavy opponents, but outside of that, maybe he's going to be a fairly average character, but I don't know, I feel like there's a lot of potential in terms of playing this character and what you can do with his abilities and phases and the way that you can shuffle around. But really, I would have loved to see all of this stuff on Doctor Strange, because Doctor Strange does need a very well-deserved buff after 12.0, so I do hope that he gets the love that he deserves in the near future. But even Unawakened, like, one of the things is, because the Awakened ability for Symbiote Strange is additional stagger effects, which again is probably going to increase your damage a bit more. But even Unawakened, it looks like there is quite a bit this character can do. So it looks like we have another pretty good Unawakened champion, which is very good when it comes to, you know, potentially getting this dude as a 5-star or 6-star character, because it's bloody difficult to awaken either of those. But anyway, in terms of the synergies, here is where we have some potential other champion buffs. So what is it? The one with Dormammu and Mephisto allows his special 2 effects to trigger through blocks for Symbiote Supreme. Dormammu increases health regenerated by an empowered soul bond by 50% for all of the hardcore Dormammu players out there. Mephisto also, and this is one I think is very interesting, is going to gain a certain chance to trigger Aura of Incineration on basic attacks. So he already triggers it on offense on parries, but if he can trigger that off basic attacks as well, I think if this is anything like 20-25%, this is going to be really good for Mephisto, because it's more damage and also even more power gain as well. So yeah, that could be potentially really good for anybody that loves to play a bit of Mephisto on offense there. So some very curious synergies with Mephisto and Dormammu. We also have synergy with Doctor Strange and Mordo, which allows Symbiote Supreme to begin the fight with 1 bar of power, and Doctor Strange to deal a certain percentage of his base attack as direct damage when nullifying a buff on the opponent, and Mordo is also going to gain plus 15% base attack as a passive attack bonus while the opponent is under a buff effect. So yeah, I don't know if these are going to be super great for Doctor Strange and Mordo. Really depends how powerful that synergy is for Doctor Strange. And I think as well, one synergy, I think Captain America synergizes quite well with Mystic Champions and kind of stripping. I think he has a flat thing that increases energy damage as well. So yeah, there could be some potential really good combo with like Captain America and this synergy, Captain America Infinity War to be specific. So yeah, I'm interested to see that one. And finally, you know, the Venom, the Carnage buffs, they've been looking pretty damn juicy so far. However, there is a really good synergy here, which Symbiote Supreme, each time a stagger's duration expires, it has a chance to reapply itself, and again, he's going to get more of that genetic potential every time a stagger expires, so this could allow his damage and effectiveness to ramp up quite a bit. And also Symbiotes increases the duration of all bleed effects by 20%, so yeah, that seems pretty nice for both Carnage and Venom, for adding a few more ticks onto the bleeds there as well. So yeah, I am very interested to see Symbiote Supreme. He seems like a pretty curious character. I think he's going to have some good uses and be arguably one of the best champions for fighting Medusa. I think this guy is going to make absolute work of Medusa in Alliance War, but still, I think maybe like Corvus and Domino are still so good at fighting Medusas at the moment, but especially when I'm playing like on my free-to-play account, you know, you can never have enough champions that are very good at dealing with Medusa. And also Hyperion, you know, there are a few good matchups for this dude, so I'm interested to see exactly, you know, how good he's going to be for dealing with certain opponents. But yeah, I think he might have some crazy damage potential as well if the Fury stance is really, really stacked. So yeah, interested to find out a little bit more about Symbiote Supreme. But ladies and gentlemen, what do you think of Symbiote Supreme? Are you hyped for this character? Let me know in the comments section below. Are there any matchups or circumstances where you think this character is really going to shine? Again, if there is anything that I've missed off, please do comment below. But aside from that, a massive thank you to Otrix for sending over these data mine abilities. We're going to have a bit of a read up on Howard, and then a video will be coming shortly on that. So ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for watching. Take care, and I hope that you have an absolutely fantastic day.